Morality.
Tonight, we gotta talk about Citadel, Silo, and of course Star Trek DS9. But we got so much pop culture news we gotta catch up on as well that there just isn't enough time to stretch this out into a 17-second intro. Anyway, all this discussion coming up right now on the Ryder Brothers! And Corione suggested I take a big breath, so I did just that. Welcome once again to your Tuesday night home for Citadel, Silo, and of course good Star Trek. I am your host, Petey York, joined as always by the lovely H. Marie, who is too pretty to show her face tonight. And of course, sandwiched between us, the ever so lovely Mr. Scogliotin, off to my over there. And right beneath me, holding us up, is, of course, Mr. Corione, Witch in Residence, and the ever-so-lovely Pollo Zapatos. Eating a stick, it looks like. Gentlemen!
I was going to say, at least he's got chicken.
Bob.
At least he's got chicken, exactly. Guys, we have got a lot to get into tonight. I mean, first of all, the shows that we are watching right now, it just does not get any better than this lineup currently. I mean, I see other stuff people are covering, and I'm sure it's great. But, I mean, I am just thoroughly enjoying Citadel and Silo. Eddie Arndt says, what is up, everyone? Good to see you all. It's been a while. Yes, Eddie, we've missed you in the live discussion. But, hey, we're here for you guys. That's why we have, that's why we leave our shows up, so you can watch it when it's more convenient for you. And yeah, so... But we absolutely appreciate everyone's participation in the live discussion. It's always fun when the audience directs a couple of our shows and influences what we talk about, because sometimes we're able to keep it tight. Sometimes we go on too long and we don't get to stuff. That's the beauty of unscripted television. We just kind of do whatever we want. All right.
Speaking, the fans are at our mercy.
Exactly.
People get to watch me pick my nose.
Please stop doing that so frequently. I mean, it's really easy. There's this button right here called Stop Cam. Sorry, I guess
Oh,
that's
no.
like
I like
passive
people
aggressive or
watching.
something.
I
I don't
think
know.
it's way funny.
I don't know why people say that, like pointing out the obvious in a condescending way as passive aggressive. I'm like, no, I think it's pretty aggressive. I'm calling out the issue. I'm just choosing to be a bigger dick about it.
Fair. So, yeah, pop culture news. Where do we want to start? Do we want to start with Lucasfilm imploding? Do we want to start with the writer's strike? I mean, everything's... Oh, do we want to start with the fact that Star Trek on TV got renewed this week as well?
Wait, it did?
Strange New Worlds got renewed. Lower Decks got renewed.
Oh.
And, yeah, and it looks like there is an additional project in the works. We don't know what it will be, but the suspicion is it's Starfleet Academy.
Oh yeah, probably.
Yeah, so nothing else
In
said.
the 30s,
Yeah.
in the far flung future with Professor Tilly.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. I can make a joke there. I'm not going to. Yeah, no. Discovery Season 6 has no interest of mine, especially since it's already sounds like it's basically starting out like Scrubs Season 9. So, I mean...
Right, but there's a danger here, because while Kurtzman hasn't officially been announced as being renewed, his shows have been.
Oh!
So there is kind of a story here.
Go on, you have my interest.
Well, the question now becomes, wouldn't they announce the most successful producer of Picard Season 3 as being renewed when all his shows were? Doesn't that make logical sense?
Well, then it's either that Secret Hideout isn't actually going to get renewed, but for some reason these properties have well, some of them have. Like Lower Decks, I know some people aren't fans of Lower Decks. Me, I give credit where due. It's each season has gotten more improved. Like by season 3, I was like, okay, this feels like, you know, Star Trek's annoying younger brother at this point. And I'm okay with that. Like, it's got its moments where it's, yeah, it's basically Star Trek written by you and Graham, John. Would be the best way to describe it.
It's Star Trek Scrappy-Doo.
And
that's kind of how it feels to me.
You know what? If it brings more people to the Federation, I don't really see what the problem is at that point. But, you know, season 1 was pretty bad. But by season 2, they started treating Boimler with more respect, and they had respect for the fact that he was super nerdy. Yeah.
It was a lot better.
And then the first...
the last episode of the second season was awesome, and you're like, oh, and you're like, yeah, I want to see what comes next.
That first episode of season 3 came in very strong, and I mean, from just the really well heartfelt references to First Contact to frickin' Mariner actually showing vulnerability and emotion. It was like, wait, what is this show? It's different.
It was like, oh wow.
I find her less irritable now. I almost want to like the okay, let's not get carried away. Actually, by the end of the season, I was like, all right, Mariner, I would actually finally consider having a Romulan ale with that particular character. And what's interesting though is apparently these characters are kind of actually like how the actors that portray them in real life can be. And of course that's what we get to look forward to in Strange New World Season 2 is a crossover episode with Lower Decks, which at first I was like, we're doing a crossover with a cartoon? Well, I mean, it is Strange New Worlds, Nick Jr. TOS, so okay, I guess.
I don't know. I guess here's what I would say. I would not have a Romulan ale with her, but, you know, I'd probably consider a Saurian brandy. It's the captain's favorite, you know.
So, yeah, it's either that or it's like my theory said, like, I think that this whole Kurtzman is some big meanie trying to destroy Star Trek and everything, and I think that it's like, well, maybe he's just a middleman, businessman who had the wrong people.
With too much power.
He just had too many people, listen to the wrong people too much, because like I said, I know there's fans out there that are not happy with the changes, and that's okay, you're allowed to not be happy. But you can't look at the progress and say that nothing has changed. That is objectively false. They have Strange New Worlds was because so many people were like, we like Captain Pike. We would like to see more of Captain Pike. Anson Mount was really great as Captain Pike. He's the only reason I suffered all the way through season 2. of Discovery. And he's the only reason I'm going to suffer through season 2 of Strange New Worlds, to be perfectly honest. But they did make a shift towards that direction. Picard season 3, they brought in all the fan service that they should have brought in season 1 and 2. And so, but obviously the plot was written around that fan service, so we got what we got. Silo's really making me go, this is a good conspiracy. This is what... There's Silo is basically... I don't want to get too into the discussion right now, but I'll just say this real quick. Silo, to me, is basically showing me two things. What Rey should have been written like, and what the story should have been designed and came to in Star Trek Picard Season 3. That's the two things. This show, single-handedly, right now, is owning Star Wars and Star Trek, in my opinion. That's how highly I rate Silo right now.
It's how to effectively write a mystery. Like, if you want to learn how to write a mystery, watch Silo.
Yeah.
It not only is it how to write a mystery, it's how to write a world.
Yes.
Like, the world building for Silo is so insane that it could theoretically end up being a spaceship, and I wouldn't fault it. I wouldn't be like, that's fake. I'm out. Like, it could go that way.
I'm excited to see. I'm excited to get to the ending, because I want all the delayed release resistant fans to check it out, because it's really good. But at the same time, I'm also enjoying the ride. In the meantime, we will get to Silo after Citadel. But let's get back to what we came here to talk about first.
Yeah. So
do we have any visual aids by chance, Corion?
For the Star Trek renewals, I do not, off the top of my head. I didn't have anything prepped for that because I just got.
I think we've touched the Star Trek renewals enough and changed it into a Star Trek discussion. Which, hey, it's fine.
But let's
dress for the occasion.
If you want to get, something kind of big up here, let me bring this over to my screen here and get this ready, because I think this screenshot kind of sums up the whole equation for us here. This is, of course, brought to us by the lovely Cameron Pasha, who, is a major league friend of the channel and a good friend in general.
Absolutely.
Edie, I think we've got the piece that captures it all the best.
Yeah.
So the Writers Guild of America, or WGA, is run by John August. And John August is one of the principal investors in an AI company that specializes in creating an AI that writes scripts. So the guy who's trying to keep American writers in the writer's room is also trying to keep American Cylons in the writer's room.
Okay,
this does not bode well for their negotiation situation.
No.
No, that's this is like did we literally just unmask the plot to Star Wars right here, like from the prequel trilogy through, like this guy John August is like Emperor Palpatine in this position. Like he has the clones of woke writers, and he has the AI bots fighting each other. This is like, how did you get to this position being so unoriginal?
So, in this case, would the Jedi be the fans? Because when he orders Order 66, I want to be out of the country.
Right.
I would say the Jedi are the movies, and Order 66 has already been in effect for a minute now.
That's right. We've been enjoying the Empire's entertainment propaganda, which is why it's all trash, because it's just designed to make the Empire look good. Or, I guess, make the Empire look bad because they hate America, but America's bad because it's free, so that's why we hate it now. Anyway... this
does raise an interesting question, though. What TV shows would you see in like the Empire, right? Like,
I think we've been watching them for the last couple of years, man. Like, we already answered that question. It would be like WandaVision. Ooh, pretty colors. Ooh, mystery box. Ooh, what's happening? Oh, it's not half-ass story that makes no sense, and by the end of it you're like, I could have done something more productive with my life, but oh well, I guess I did.
Yeah, fair enough.
And then we get stuff like Kenobi, where Kenobi's just gonna be like, I kicked Vader's ass, but I'm gonna walk away. Who cares? I don't need to, you know. I'm you know,
be fine.
The path of the
Yeah,
good guy is to kill
there you
nobody. You know, I mean,
Yep.
which you should definitely try not to. But if you're in a position to kill a mass murderer who already killed a bunch of children and you don't, you're complicit. Yeah. Like, unless they fooled you and tricked you into it not being the case, obviously. But by this point, you knew what Vader had done, and you knew what needed to be done, which you failed to do on Mustafar. But that would have changed canon, which at this point, who the hell cares anymore?
Yep. So I guess so that's kind of the big piece there is, you know, this is a major conflict of interest at that point, right?
Yeah.
And you know, that kind of conflict of interest should really not be, you know, for lack of a better term, permitted at this point, right?
Tolerated, yeah, no doubt. That's crazy. That's not just like slackjaw, like.
Right, and it really says what this individual wants to accomplish, right? I mean, you know, you can't have it both ways. You can have, you know, human writers doing incredible, you know, human stories about humans, for lack of a better term, or you can have Cylons writing machine factory stuff, the kind of stuff that we're used to from, like, you know, like Seinfeld episodes again and again and again, or, you know, like if you want, like, you know, I don't know, 5,000 seasons of The Big Bang Theory, then hire an AI, right? If
wait, I'm sorry. Are you saying The Big Bang Theory wasn't written by AI?
Oh, no, I 100% believe that Big Bang Theory was probably heavily influenced. Like, it's so formulaic, it could have easily been written by an AI.
Oh, yeah. All you had to do was just basically take Sex and the City, Galaxy Quest, Star Trek, Star Wars, and the entire MCU, and then you just put that into an AI, and then there's your episodes. And that's honestly what that show felt like. It just,
yeah.
There was somebody in our sister Discord, in our sister network, Super Gamecraft, who basically puts it like this. He says, he basically calls it nerd face. And I'm like, that's exactly what that show is. It's such, yeah.
And yeah, so that's, I mean, like, if you want something formulaic like that every time, then get the AIs in the room. If you want masterpieces, right, like the original Lord of the Rings, or like Silo, or like Citadel, you need
Terminal List, Reacher.
Terminal List, yeah. You know, The Martian, like,
would be nice if we could get the Forever War.
Right. You know, if you want, well, okay, I'm going to say this. The Forever War would be fantastic, but you cannot do it in modern climate because everyone will say that the Forever War is woke as hell.
I don't care.
Everyone will. What?
How? Why? How?
Because of the LGBTQIA++, up, down, left, right, BABA, start stuff in it.
You mean the stuff that was just casually mentioned in the universe and not really, like, paraded around or preached or pushed down your throat?
Absolutely, but it'll, you know...
I don't know. I would think... I have to hard disagree with you, brother, because...
Okay.
There's a lot of, flag-waving Christian types that I may associate with or follow on Twitter. They love the Orville Season 3. And if they love the Orville Season 3, then I think Forever War is just fine. Like...
Yeah, I mean, look, I feel... Okay, personally, I feel like after the war in Afghanistan, it's the perfect time to put something like the Forever War in the forefront.
Yeah.
Right? Especially if you're gonna... You know, especially if you want civilians to identify with the veterans that are coming back from it.
Absolutely.
Because let's be honest, those veterans left one America and came back to a completely different one.
Yep.
Right? And that's more or less what the Forever War is about.
Oh, I totally related to it growing up in the era that I, you know, happening to be in the time that I did. Like, in the years that leading up to 9/11, I remember life just being so freeing, and yet after that happened, then suddenly it's like now we have to plan 3 to 5 hours, you know, at the airport. You didn't have to do that back in the day. Back in the day, you literally, if your flight was out in 20 minutes and you didn't have a freaking checked bag, or you didn't have a checked bag, just had a carry-on. You literally showed up at the airport and walked on. That was it. Yeah, they had metal detectors, but it wasn't like what it was now. Now, they've somehow managed to add your time at the airport just simply by increasing security measures that don't even work.
Oh, dude, pre 9/11, I was traveling cross country, and one of the guys I was with, there's kind of a joke that guys from Scarborough, like they say that guys from Scarborough carry at least 5 knives on them at any one time. This is actually incorrect. We carry 11. You just only find 5 of them. So we go to the airport, and the metal detector goes off, and he'll pull out one, and then he'll go back through, and then pull out another one, and so on. He gets to the 11th knife, and when he's walked through and he's clear, they hand him back the knives and say, okay, just go on through. Okay? Now that we found them all, fine, right?
You just want to know what you're packing. We trust you.
Right. But that's the difference. Pre 9/11 and post 9/11.
Yeah. Now if you have a single piece of anything that resembles a knife. What is that? That's a melted plastic fork. Come with me.
Hey, dude, I went through airport security with 2 red pillar candles, like the big kind of thick candles, a magic 8-ball, and my USB charging cords. They thought it was a bomb when they put it through the X-ray scanner. Which would be the most cartoon bomb you've ever seen.
I came very close to playing the religious card one time going through airport security, let's just say.
All right, so do we want the second image I have prepared for us today?
Yes.
Well, as some of you may... now, for anyone on the panel, can you guess what kind of bird that this one is? Hold on. Let's stop this. And, it's every Lucasfilm, or every Star Wars fan's favorite bird. If you can guess what bird this is.
Org.
Nope, that's a sparrow. The insider that has been leaking principal intelligence to from the inside of Lucasfilm for the last while. He's, if he was a Star Wars character, he would be the Bothan spies.
That's not really a fate we should wish on Sparrow.
True, but let's be honest. He's the or how about
he's
this?
He's 007. It's James Bond, except not counting the last movie.
Yeah, well, or how about this? You remember the guy who was running from Vader with the Death Star plans trying to get to the ship? That's Sparrow, okay? The dude is booking it down the hallway.
No, you're still... No, if Sparrow gets away. It's just like Tom Cruise in Mission Impossible. He has plot armor.
Okay, well, anyway, our friend Sparrow had some interesting news over the last little while, and he did a major info dump. The biggest plot points that I think to take away from the dump that Sparrow has released here is the Galactic Star Cruiser closed this week. Indy 5, the Dial of Disappointment, I'm going to call it, released this week.
Yeah.
At Cannes. And Willow was dropped from Disney Plus this week. And here's what Sparrow has to say. They're all related. Iger is going on a campaign to humiliate Kathleen Kennedy to get her out the door. Apparently, she was offered an opportunity to turn Star Wars Celebration into the Kathleen Kennedy retirement party and declined and put up a whole bunch of projects that, as far as anyone can tell, are not real. So now we have a scenario where our man Sparrow is saying that Iger is on the warpath and he's going to humiliate and discredit Kennedy so that she can't work in that town again. And it seems to be working. You know, there's a lot of people who are quite furious in the trades and quite furious elsewhere in regards to what's going on here. And, there is an argument of, which failed harder, the Galactic Star Cruiser or the Star Trek experience in Vegas. I would argue that the Star Cruiser was worse because it was a way higher point of investment to entry. And to be perfectly honest, getting a chance to drink in Quark's bar is a better deal than anything else I can think of. Right? So, yeah. So that was the first big takeaway. The second big takeaway from him was, it looks like Jon Favreau's security access has been enhanced to CEO level.
Oh.
And that both legal and HR are having closed door sessions with Disney's higher ups. Usually that only happens if there's a major management change coming down to Lucasfilm. So while none of this can be confirmed, and because Sparrow has to continue to go by the codename Sparrow, lest he be found out by the Empire, we can't confirm any of this, but it does paint an interesting picture of what's going on. Personally, though, what I really want to know is who the hell Sparrow is inside the organization. That, to me, is the most interesting question. Like, who is this masked bird?
Yeah. Scogli, it sounds like you got a thought.
Oh, no, I was just indeed it is. It's like, it's Bob Iger.
It's definitely, like, I've definitely had my doubts about the Lucasfilm Civil War, and I think that the way that things have just been a constant back and forth. There's evidence to suggest there might have been one. I will say this. There's definitely more evidence to support a Lucasfilm Civil War than something in Paramount with Secret Hideout. So there's a lot that, but I think that this if she's not gone at this point, then the world is just even that much more crazy and out of whack, because there's no reason that she should survive any of this at this point. Mandalorian Season 3 was terrible, and she needs to take the blame for that, and we need to stick that. She wants to take credit for how great Mandalorian was at the start. Here you go, Kathy. You take credit for Season 3 as well. And
well, let's take a look. Solo, right? Lost money. Last Jedi, way underperformed. Rise of Skywalker, way underperformed. Obi-Wan was terrible. Book of Boba Fett was terrible. Willow was terrible. Now Dial of Destiny is bad. How many times does she have to fail before Disney does something?
I'm just curious.
I'm waiting for the Vader Bob Iger. You have failed me for the last time, Kennedy.
Like, I don't want to make the whole sexist argument, like if she was a man, how would things have gone differently? But I also, what kind of influence does she have to get away with this much? Like, it's not because she's a woman. It's so much more than that. Like, there's no way that you screw up this hard and this much.
Do you want what?
I've heard of failing up, but this is ridiculous.
Do you want to know what the rumors are?
This is like failing, like, while somebody's just, dragging you up with a freaking rope.
Do you guys want to know what the rumors are as to how she's been allowed to keep failing like this?
Sure.
You know the saying, I know where the bodies are buried?
Yeah.
Well, consider this. Kathleen Kennedy has been, a woman who at one time was rather attractive in Hollywood for a long period of time. The rumor, of course, is one, that she has tapes, and two, she hired on former assistant to Harvey Weinstein as to give her a show that's never really materialized. You have to wonder what that former assistant, Leslie Headland, gave Kennedy to get that job. Maybe a list of names?
And that just makes her an even, more trash person in the end, because...
Well, yeah.
If she was a good person, she would have just spilled that out as soon as she got in charge of Lucasfilm. That would have been that. But... Well,
hiding crimes can be quite evil, yes.
It's just that really just shows you the depravity that people really have. You know, people say that, oh, you know, how could someone like Hitler exist? It's like, okay, if Kathleen Kennedy has this kind of information to bring people down, and she's in a position of power, of influence at Lucasfilm, if she was a good person, once she got secure in Lucasfilm, that would have been the time to drop all of your blackmail and just implode the whole thing.
Pounce on it.
Like, look, that's how good guys fight the battle. Like, I can understand you keeping quiet to get through to their chain of command to a position of power, but that's obviously why that's it right there. So every theory about her torpedoing Star Wars is absolutely correct, because if she has this information and she's not disclosing it, then her influence for all of this has literally just been one giant childish tantrum. Jesus fucking Christ.
Well, now you know why both
disgusting.
Cameron and I get so upset at this woman.
I'm not gonna get to, yeah, I get it, and I empathize with it. I'm just gonna wait until the evidence is for sure out there in the open that this is all true, because I don't want to get people too upset, or, you know, I don't want to, because that's what we've got now, especially in politics, is it's all, oh, you know, so-and-so might actually be a pedophile. It's like, all right, where's the evidence? Oh, well, you know, we just make this loose dot here connect. It's like, all right, I get it. I see what you're saying. We need a conviction. And that's just how it is.
Yep.
We got to go through the system. But, yeah. So, hopefully she's done and on the out, and hopefully if she does have all that dirt, then she does, you know, be held accountable for not disclosing information that could have saved people's lives. And so yeah.
So yeah, there we go, guys.
I think that covers our pop culture segment. A lot of exciting stuff happening. And yeah, I think with that, we do need to get ready to transition to our Citadel discussion. Of course, I forgot to have the graphics ready to go. Go figure.
Yeah, well, you know, I move quick.
Yeah.
But we do have the Citadel general discussion up there right now, so I guess we could go ahead and do that funky thing.
All right, we've got it set up. So, real quick for our non-spoiler overview. I am still thoroughly enjoying this show a lot. I really like. It's nice to just have kind of like a modern James Bond thriller that isn't directly tied to that, and it's still just a fun story on its own that's got a lot of depth and character. So I'm still on board with it. Scogli, what about you?
Yeah, it's twisty. I like it. It's just it's all over the place. I've been pretty skeptical, but yeah, no, I think it's like, yeah, I was saying last week, it's like I just keep feeling like I'm being tricked, but you know, I'm coming around.
Yeah. H. Marie, what about you? What's your non-spoiler overview for this one?
Oh, I'm thoroughly enjoying it quite a bit. It still has my attention. There's definitely been some interesting twists and turns that I didn't exactly see coming. So,
all right, Corione.
Yeah. You know, what's keeping me in this is not necessarily the plot, right? I mean, we've seen spy thriller plots with twists before. What's keeping me in this is the characterizations. When a bomb is dropped, like a major truth bomb or plot bomb or whatever happens, we get genuine reactions from the actors. You know, they sit there and you feel their shock with them. That is nice to see. These actors aren't phoning it in. They actually care about these characters, right? The woman playing Nadia Singh, you feel her pathos when something tragic happens or she has to relive something she really doesn't want to, right? Our main man here, you know, he feels like he's being played continuously, and we feel that, right? You know, that comes across. Our fast talking, you know, gearhead guy, man, I am loving that character. Every time he's on screen, it's witty repartee, but when the witty repartee goes away, you feel his vulnerability. And you feel his dread.
He's an amazing actor.
Oh, yeah. Like, you know, honestly, if he is not at least considered for an award for his role in this show, I'd be very upset. because he deserves the consideration for his acting chops in this. There you go, man. That's my piece.
The only reason he wouldn't deserve an award for this is if he got an award for Merlin.
Right?
Because, like, it basically is the same character, but, like, I love it so much in the sense that if this is your character, your cardboard cutout for a character, this is such a fun and hard character to cardboard cut out, because every spy thriller needs a Q, and every Q has to have different toys that makes these spies different than the rest. And so, like, his performance as Merlin in The Kingsman was very, like, stoic, mentor-esque, but then his role in this one is way more like he really does feel like Eggy from the first Kingsman. Like, he seems like the more witty, vocal, fun person, but he's still cute, which I love that he's playing both.
Yeah. Actually, hold on. It's two different actors, eh?
Wait, what? Did we?
Yeah, I found this out too. Give me 1 second. I'm gonna pull it up for you guys. Okay.
We've been putting out wrong information to our viewers.
Yeah, sorry guys.
Sorry, credibility sucks. Go find somebody else to watch.
I'm gonna fix this right now here. Let me get this set up. It'll just take a second because I've got both pieces here. Here we go. So, if I can, once again, commandeer the screen a little bit.
Yeah, sure. Go right ahead.
Let me get the entire screen. There it is. Okay, so when you're ready. So, this is Stanley Tucci, our gentleman from Citadel. This is Mark Strong from Kingsman.
Oh, there is a little bit of a... Oh, man. Did we just have a all white guys look the same to us moment?
Actually, no. I'm going to say this is Mark Strong. This is discount Mark Strong.
I don't know.
Oh, my gosh. It's the hair. Because I would never mistake Stanley Tucci for Mark Strong if he was still dressed like he was in Hunger Games.
Yeah.
But because he, like, went bald, all bald white guys look the same.
Yeah, he was definitely channeling that character, though. Like, that was obviously his inspiration.
Absolutely.
I mean...
But just to confirm, Mark Strong?
Yep.
Mark Strong when you order him from Wish.
I think it's better
Yep. There it is. There it is, live on camera at 45 minutes. The Writer Brothers' credibility eviscerated by the Writer Brothers themselves. Good job, guys.
Only the Writer Brothers would have the capability, skill, and grace
to take down the Writer Brothers. That is correct, Corion. We are our own worst enemy.
Nobody beats you except you, buddy.
So yeah, I thought you guys might enjoy that at the very least that we have.
Yeah, just Mark enjoy and enjoy. All right, well, I'm Peter York of the Writer Brothers. I'll see you never again. We're done. Bye. We quit.
Anyway, John, sorry to interrupt you like that, but go ahead.
No, you're good.
You just killed the whole show. Who cares? Anyway.
Well, yeah, now that I don't have any street cred as a movie critic, because I can't even tell white actors apart.
Can't even tell your own kind, boy.
Dude, I can't tell anybody apart.
I can't either.
Same person. We're all me.
No, those jokes are friggin' stupid anyway, because there was a time when Chris Tucker and Chris Rock in the 90s legitimately looked very similar, and they both knew it, and they both busted everybody's balls over it, too. Like, that was probably what made it fun, was that they owned it.
It's great when it's funny. It's terrible when it's actually used to segregate and stereotype.
That's correct. I completely agree with that.
And that's like the general rule of bullying. Like, if two brothers are bullying each other, it's cute. But if one of the brothers gets bullied, both the brothers beat up the bully, as is the rule.
Yeah, no, sorry, that's, yeah. No, only I'm allowed to use that punching bag.
to me, I feel like that's a lot of what this show is. Like this episode, honestly, like I'm really hoping Manticore is like the NSA.
Do we need to
and
just go to
Citadel is
spoiler
the
alert?
CIA. No,
Yeah,
not a spoiler alert. No worries. But I really want Manticore to be like the NSA, and then like the Citadel be the CIA, and it's like two brother spy agencies that the government's paying for both, doing all this fighting, and it turns out they're both just conspiracy theory like cesspools.
Yeah. All right, well, I think from here we can go into spoiler territory and really just grind into the meat and potatoes. So with that, Corio, why don't you go ahead and give your spoiler take on the show so far?
Oh man, this episode was rough. Because first we've got our man, not Merlin.
Discount Merlin.
Discount Merlin. Wish Merlin.
IKEA Merlin. Wait.
IKEA Yisk Merlin, because you got real IKEA and then you've got Yisk, which is off-brand IKEA.
Yes.
Yeah, there you go.
Crappier brand than IKEA.
Oh yeah, it's called Yisk. It's amazing. But so we have, and he's convinced the twin, like one of the twins, that yes, your girlfriend is alive. She's just mind wiped. We can get her back. I can take you to her. Let's just do this. And he's finally convinced her. And he's like, all right, you know what? I'm going to do this. I'm going to break rank. I'm going to go get the girl I love. I'm going to get this guy to help me do it. I finally made the decision. He cuts his ropes. He's like, I got a car waiting out back. We're going to sneak out. Bam! Dead. Right? Like, that's how crazy this came together. We have that storyline. And we have the whole situation with Nadia and our main man. Oh my goodness, what heartbreak this is. This is the spoiler review. I don't even want to say it because of how hard it is. Right? And guys, watch this episode. Because it's not just hearing the sudden shocking realization of the big reveal of this episode. It is watching each character deal with it. And dealing with the horrendous heartache upon realizing it that really sells this episode. For a low action episode, when it comes to Citadel levels of action, for a low action episode, this had probably the biggest heartbreak I think we've seen in the series yet. So, good job on the characterization. If you're not going to be hitting us with beats per minute action, hitting us with, just tears per minute emotional victimization, for lack of a better term, is just perfect. So well done, guys.
Yeah, absolutely. Skogly, what about you? Got anything to add?
Oof, that Dahlia, wow, an actress that plays her. I was just like expecting her just like to step back like a little bit in that situation. The guard's right there, but he doesn't seem to be doing very good. And she just stands there and just watches. It's just like, oh my goodness. She's great.
Yeah, you almost wanted him to succeed in choking her out too,
It's like, man, I'd be stepping back a little bit. Your security guard doesn't seem to be doing very good. But like, she just stands right there, just ice cold. I was like, wow. Man, yeah, the acting in this is just so good. Yeah, I don't know. It's not this. Everything seemed kind of a little silly, almost like just like over the top. But it's like, no, they're bringing it home. It's, yeah. I'm glad you got me into this, because yeah, I would never watch a show like this on my own. Especially after the first episode, I was like, I've kind of seen all this, but no, it's great. It's great. I recommend.
Yeah, H. Marie has similar thoughts when we get to the silo discussion, but that's exactly. I mean, pretty much right there with you, Corione. You don't want to get too into the spoilers, and it's like, it's even with the spoiler discussion, that's what I think is the true mark of quality in a show, is either some people are just too excited that they can't contain the spoilers, or we have so much respect for the product right now that we would rather people experience it themselves instead of just giving it all away. And so, and I think it's part of what gives us our special quality on this show, is that we don't even like to talk spoilers when we can. So that's like, yeah, I gotta agree. I don't really have much more to say, because I think what I've really enjoyed most about this story is how much it continues to properly subvert my expectations. You know, I think a lot of people are a little shy of that term because Last Jedi subverted itself into oblivion. Whereas, you know, we have Citadel, which is just like constantly going, oh, you know, he gets the phone and convinces the guy to help him, and you know, sorry, this ain't that kind of movie. And it's like, well, how are we getting out of this? Because I have no idea. And so it's making for a great discussion and theories, but I don't know. I guess I'm also just eager for Silo, because that one's...
Oh, that one hit on all cylinders too this week.
This one's just going to... So, if you're unsure which show you should go with first, my money's behind Silo right now. Real quick, of course, I'll just go around and give my non-spoiler take. If you guys have not started this show yet, you definitely should. For those of you who are waiting till all the episodes are out, it's still going to be good. Everything up until this point has been absolutely worth my time. And I think what really got me into it, and what's really keeps my interest, is the performances by these actors really does sell the world. Like, these guys believe they're in this dystopic utopia. And I think that's part of what really had my attention from the start, was that everybody just goes along with their world because it's all they know. But there's no, like, it comes off as dystopic because of the griminess and the nature of it and the realism. But if you notice, like, there's not, like, a lot of high crime. There's not a whole...
Doesn't look too bad.
There's like, everybody just does what they're supposed to for work and to help keep the civilization running, but overall, it just seems like normal life, but there's not a whole lot of murders or anything that goes on, and it's interesting. But, yeah, so I'm still really enjoying this show. This is one I do actually... I don't know. Art is mostly subjective. I think I'm just enjoying it more than Citadel because it's just kind of got my preferred rhythm and take. But that's not to say I'm not enjoying Citadel. I really am enjoying both. What about you, Scogli, for your non-spoiler overview?
This show is just so deeply compelling. I would say those first 2 episodes, they come out swinging, and then it slows down considerably, but the weight that's added with relationships with people, and kept getting the backstories of actors, but no, yeah, the characters is really nice. And a lot of times when they go back, I'm just kind of but it's really good. I like this a lot, and you've got that mystery that they haven't touched on for 2 episodes. Really, it's just looming, and things are changing, people are settling in, and as bad as it kind of is, I had that exact thought this time. I was like, I can handle living here. It doesn't seem too bad.
Right? And as long as I got time to play my video games, it doesn't look like a half bad life, to be perfectly honest. H. Marie, what about you?
Well, I will say this episode finally hooked me. So I'm just gonna leave it at that and wait for the spoiler.
All right. Corione.
Yeah, I think the piece that really got to me this episode was Will Patton playing the deputy. We often see characters having a very bad moment in their life, right? I mean, you don't get drama from good days, right? You get them from tragedy. And very rarely do you get such a quality actor as Will Patton playing such a terrible day. And this is him on his worst day, and he played it fantastically. It was just brilliantly done. We feel the character, and yet, even when he's at his worst, he's still a cop, right? And that says fantastic things about the actor and the actor's ability to interpret what he's been given in terms of writing, which is good, but it wouldn't be as good if it was acted by a lesser actor, and we got a fantastic actor here. David Olilio, and if I'm saying that wrong, I apologize. The guy who's playing Holston, the guy who works for the judge, was fantastic as well in this episode. He's really stand out because on one hand, look, we know he's working some kind of agenda. We have no idea what, but we know he's working an agenda. And yet, he is trying to be, or not Holston, I apologize. The guy who's playing Robert Sims, the guy who works for the judge. Got the names turned around. That guy is, he's working an angle, but he is trying to be working this angle super friendly like. And that's what's amazing about it, right? That's what's absolutely fantastic is, he's kind of this like the devil you want to invite in your house almost attitude to him. And I love it. I love it when we have a quasi bad guy that you really don't want to trust, but he kind of wants you to. And, you can bet if this was from his point of view, he'd be the good guy and believe himself to be the good guy here. So, yeah, that's my take.
Yeah, absolutely. John, what have you got?
Dude, I think the reason why you like it so much, Parker, is probably the same reason I like it, and it is more of the effort that is clearly presented in the world building. Like, the amount of time spent making it feel like this silo is not only like a safe haven from the elements outside, but also like a culture, a full-blown society. Like, honestly, you were saying it, Parker, earlier, and I just like kind of like really hit me how much this feels like the military in terms of like when you're going into the military, you hear all the war stories, you hear all the like the heroics, all the fun, and also like all the bad stuff, like being a bullet sponge, fighting wars your country shouldn't have started, all of that. But then once you're in it, you're like, oh, these are just human beings doing human things, humaning like me. And we're all aware that like it could go really bad and we could be really evil. And, kind of get away with it because the military has all the weapons and the training and very little resistance in terms of the people around them. And then that's where like the self-control comes in. And I think this show is doing such an awesome job of hitting that. Like, these people could be going crazy. We've seen all the shows where they do. We've seen the shows where like the convicts have to be cast out. But instead, the people that are being cast out are the people that say, I want out. Everybody else has different rules. Some people sit in cells for a little while. Some people, are known troublemakers, but society takes care of them. Like, it takes a village, and the village is never, ever leaving, right? And that's what this show has taken so much time to give us. Also, there's a story behind it. Also, there's a conspiracy theory going on as we speak. Also, we have time lapses of these people's lives in this world. But at the same time, like, it's a full established world. And we get to actually enjoy it. And like, headcanon is more like real life headcanon. Like, what if they had been nicer? What if they didn't try to get out? What if they had said? And it's just an if because we kind of already know what most likely would have happened, which is eventually they would have asked for out, or eventually they would have been killed. And like, those eventualities aren't headcanon. They're shown, right? In other characters around the world, in other parts of the story that we've seen so far. And I love that so much. which is why I think you're liking it too, Parker. Because like,
Yeah.
part
At
of the
no
reason-
point do I ever
So-
doubt what I'm seeing on the screen. It's just
Yeah.
completely immersed the whole time. It's a completely
Oh.
different experience from Citadel. This feels very real.
Yeah, Citadel for me sometimes really feels like an action movie, and you're like, okay, I'm watching a cool action movie. This is awesome. But like this, you're like, man, these people really got it hard over there in Imaginary Town.
Yeah, and you
Like,
kind of have to
pretty
give
sweet.
props to Apple for putting a show about people being trapped in a tight confined space, not being able to leave their home right after a pandemic, right? I mean, they could.
I think that's what makes it totally relatable. It's like, oh yeah, no, we've done this before, so yeah. I think I'll go ahead and set
But they
the.
didn't gloss over that. They,
Set the
like
spoilers.
they could have very easily just been like, yeah, you guys just got done being in a pandemic, so you know what this is like. Now here you are in it in the silo, and instead, like, no, they're taking the time to make the silo its own thing. Like, yeah, I hear your connection, but I would have never made that connection outside of a joke. That's how good this show is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's this episode definitely came in strong with, like, the whole series is doing, it has a really good pacing to it. It gives enough information when it's time, and then it doesn't bore you too hard to move on to the next thing, and then as Scogli just so aptly pointed out, I totally realized, like, yeah, I totally didn't realize it, but we haven't really touched the main draw in a couple of episodes. That's how captivating these performances are. And so I think with Citadel has the same drawback that Will Jordan's Redemption does, for example. It's a spy thriller. There's only so much that spy thriller turns out we're the secret good guys and this is what we do. That can only go so far. I think the reason I actually enjoyed Kingsman was because it didn't take itself super seriously, but it was still, you know, it had its quirks, it had its moments, but it was still believable and still fun. And Citadel is good for what it is, and it's still a great show, and all the acting's good, but it's definitely lacking the special, unique charm that something like Silo gives us, because Silo is a lot more grounded in its original concept. It's a lot more focused in its own world. It's not trying to fit into our reality. It's its own reality. Whereas Citadel is trying to make you believe something that exists, like you could run into these people on the street and not realize who they are real quick, you know. It's like anytime you hear sirens going off in the distance, that's the spies, you know, doing spy stuff, right? So I think that's part of the reason why Silo. The other part of the reason is because these characters are so well written and believable as characters. Like I said at the beginning during the pop culture news, this show is owning both Star Wars and Star Trek simultaneously, both in its delivery of a conspiracy character-driven story, as well as showing us how to properly write a good, believable female character. I realized, I actually, so, believe it or not, I totally relate to the main character in Silo. Like, I know, big shocker, right? I'm a straight white male. How could I possibly relate to a woman? Impossible. Actually, it's not. I actually relate to this character a little bit more than I realized, because that's kind of how my career in the Coast Guard went. I originally started, I was going to be a mechanic, but I ended up doing the more intelligence side of the house with being an operations specialist. But I realized it's kind of similar to what she does in how she progresses in this show, because she starts off as a mechanic, but then now she's the sheriff and has to do investigations, and it's like, you know, it seems like a big leap, but it's like, no, it's totally logical, because what do mechanics do? They solve problems. They listen to machines. They try to figure out how to get the machine fixed and working again. So for a mechanic to go and suddenly become an investigator, it makes total perfect sense, because you already know how to look for problems and inconsistencies and anomalies, but instead of machines, you're just working with people. And so it's all the progression, the everything in this world and how it's happened is believable. My one minor complaint this episode, and this is how good this show is because I only have this complaint. Why did Holston go through the trouble to make sure the file was hidden down the other side? Like, so impossibly far through the vent. Like, he obviously had to, like, chuck it or put some weight behind it to get it to fall down there and then get it to just right to have the thing make noise when she showed up. It's also nice that nobody bothered to fix that vent the entire time between when Holston died and when the new sheriff was showing up. Like, sucks to be you, new sheriff. You have to deal with the noise. That's gonna be a convenient plot point. But that's my only complaint. Otherwise, the rest of the show, just fantastic.
I would disagree because it did actually take the time to address it.
Yeah, that's what we do. We disagree on this show and nobody gets their feelings hurt. Why don't you go ahead and explain to me your disagreement so I can tell you why you're wrong?
Well, okay. Number one, all I do is disagree. Contrarian number one over here. And I disagree with that too.
Yeah, you're the wrong brother on this show.
No, the thing that they did is like, one, it was only like 2 days, right? Like the amount of time that's passed since he died and she took over was about 24 hours. Two, the mayor died. So like in that loop. And then three, like the, when she was like taking the office manager was like, hey, we can send somebody from maintenance to fix that. And she's like, yeah, you'd send me, idiot. And like there was that whole scene about it, but for her, like she even acknowledged, she's like, no, I like that. That noise helps me know that the world's still moving when I'm sleeping. And like that was nice because that even explained like why it took her so long to finally look at it. Because like she was looking for like Holston to reach out, and the only thing he did was like it. I do agree, it was thrown away in the back there.
It was
But-
the thing that gives her comfort.
Yeah. That part kind of didn't make a whole lot of sense outside of the fact that like I sleep with a sound machine. So like I do know that you're gonna find small comforts in noise. But like the way that it felt like it was still planned out. It was still mapped just enough that it felt a part of the story and also not like a MacGuffin. At least not yet. If suddenly everybody's finding
It's a
those
really
things in their
minor
pipes-
nitpick, bro. It wasn't.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like literally the one thing that I could find to actually complain on this show. Like, you really gotta reach with Silo. Huh.
Yeah, guys, who on the panel thinks that the IT head, now mayor,
Tim
knows the real deal as to what's going on? And is like,
I'm-
him and the judge are the only two.
I'm actually less convinced now.
Really?
Like, Tim Robbins' acting has sold me on the fact that he might not actually know what exactly is going on. Because... or that he's been wanting to find answers to for his own reasons and isn't necessarily trying to manipulate things. Like this show does a... So the beginning of the show, right? We get... Let's... This is why I also like this show more. It inspires more discussion. Let's start at the beginning, right? We start at the beginning. So, we start off, these people are in the silo. They can't go outside. They die when they go outside. Not just because people say they die when they go outside, but because we've actually watched people die when they go outside. So, from what we know, that's what happens. Now, of course, us being the particular people that we are, because we do another show on Corio's channel called Transmissions from the Rogue Council, where we talk about conspiracy theories all the time, we already were like, all right, what's the puzzle? What's the cheese? What are we watching here? What's the point, right? And yet, so at first we get the mayor giving her speech about putting down the rebellion 150 years ago. And we're like, oh yeah, of course, mayor. Good for you. Keeping the status quo going, got to keep the propaganda alive. That's absolutely what tighten into the society. Then we start to get to know the mayor. We find out the mayor has no idea what the hell is actually going on either. She's just playing a part. She's actually doing what she thinks is just best for the world. Oh, okay, fine, fair enough. So the mayor actually isn't in on it when we started to kind of suspect that she might have been, and no, we don't. No, she's not. As far as we also know, the sheriffs aren't in on it. They have no idea what's going on. But then we meet Tim Robbins for the first time. And we're like, this guy, he's got to be shady. You mean, this is a dude that escaped from a prison. Or, sorry, God, my movie's confused. Shawshank Redemption might not have happened in this universe, excuse me. So, how can we trust this guy? He just seems kind of fishy. He puts on a nice smile. He's very, just by the book. He's got to be in on it, right? Okay. First scene opens up with him, coming in and taking over as mayor pro tempore and wanting her to be there because she wants to start the investigation. So he wants to keep order and keep things moving. He's giving an appearance of he's just a part playing a role. We don't actually know what's going on. The only real suspicious guy, in my opinion, right now is the guy in Judicial that walks around in his neat black suits and his clean shaven hair and nicely trimmed beard. He's the only one that I'm still kind of just like, you're working for somebody else. I'm pretty sure. But Tim Robbins is now kind of off my radar for the moment.
He's
No,
very
guys.
confident and sure of himself, right? Nobody else is. Everybody
He is the only, he's the only one who seems to exude confidence.
Trust me, having worked in IT for over 25 years, any IT manager is inherently guilty from jump. Okay? The question is just what they're guilty of. Okay? And they know
Caring too much.
No, that's never the problem. Okay? All right, so trust me. That guy is shady. Okay? I don't know what he's done. I don't know what kind of evil he's about to drop on the universe. But we know for a fact he's not going to outsource the IT to India, so something else is up.
No, he's going to outsource it to the Indian silo.
Yeah, right? So I'm just saying, something's up. And I don't like it.
I don't know. He's not totally conscious clear, but he doesn't, I don't know. Everybody comes off as suspicious at first, and then I start to talk, and they start to get to know them like, man, they're really good at either hiding what their true intents are, or they actually believe what they say, and there's still even more layers to unpack.
Well, that's kind of where I'm starting to get the main vibe of the show as a whole, or not the show, but the universe, is more along the lines of it's about keeping appearances, sweep it under the rug. So far, everybody who may or may not have been murdered has been written off as a suicide. They would rather have suicides than actual murders, which is, a flip from reality where we'd rather have murders than suicides. And in that switch, we're getting this I kind of think the IT guy does know more about what's going on than he's letting on, but I think it's so much more from the sense of he's just been keeping his mouth shut, which is the number one rule. Don't get everybody else in on your conspiracy theory. If you look for the mysteries of the silo and you spend your whole life doing that, but you don't ever bring anybody in on it, they probably don't care about you. But as soon as you start trying to get people in on your theories, it seems like that's when you get pushed out. That's when they start making you feel
the status quo.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Guys, here's my theory as to what's going on and why I think the IT guy knows more than he's letting on. We have to assume that every computer in that place is networked, right? We have to start with that assumption. So as soon as that hard drive, the relic was found, dude probably had access to it. He probably has that information stored somewhere.
Assuming he's not the one who disseminates it every so often to get people to weed themselves out and take care of their own,
Right. So what I'm willing to bet is at some point, though, what we're going to have happen is we're going to find out that hard drive was actually grabbed by Judicial when the sheriff handed it over and destroyed. And the IT dude, when they're discussing this, is going to go, well, actually, I have a backup copy. Because I back up everything because that's what we do. And, that's when we'll get more information as to what the hell is actually going on.
Yeah. I mean, I'm ready for Friday, man. Is it Friday yet? I gotta watch Silo. Although, I might have to wait even longer. We'll see. Yeah.
By the way, is Silo only 8 episodes? That's all I'm seeing.
I don't know. It might be. That would be sad if it was. I was hoping for at least 10. but because I mean, I enjoy putting this show on, and I'm enjoying the journey, the journey as well.
Yeah.
Excuse me, I appear to have DH'd to a teenage boy once again.
Yeah, all I'm
I
saying.
just asked Google, and Google said there's 10 episodes. How many episodes are there in Silo? Silo's first season spans 10 episodes in total. The first 2 episodes debuted on Apple TV on May 5th.
Okay, good. Because although I am still going
I'd be
to say
concerned
this,
if there was only 8.
I am still going to say this. Make TV series 26 episodes again.
Yeah, I know. We're getting to the end of DS9 season 2, and I'm like, oh man, we're at the end of season 2. We almost get to season 4. We're gonna get a new theme song, and then we're gonna get, damn it! Let's hurry up and get there already. I can't say what we're gonna get because somebody hasn't watched them all yet. Yeah. Any last thoughts with Silo? Any further comments or?
Oh, I love the method of the, what is it, his look, what's he doing with that shotgun? It's just like, oh, you just give it weight for his punching bag or something. I was like, that was a good idea. I was like, what is he doing? Wraps up his shotgun in the bag here. I think maybe I misunderstood.
In the
what's going
mattress,
on.
yeah.
I'm pretty sure he laid the shotgun on the mattress and then rolled it up and then tied it all together, hung it from the ceiling. I was like, oh, that's fun.
When I saw him hanging stuff, I was like, oh crap, we're actually going to get an actual.
Here we go. He was making a punching bag. He was like, yeah.
No, he was making the device to prevent himself from committing suicide.
Very, very manly. Yeah, he's great. Oh, and that guy, what's his name? He plays Jorah Mormont in Game of Thrones.
Yeah,
He's
the
in
doctor.
this.
Yeah,
He's in this too. I just realized that.
that dude is in everything now.
Yeah.
I'm like,
I don't know what his name is.
Oh right,
but
I wanted to touch on that. Never mind, I'm getting ahead of myself. My bad. But real quick, H. Marie, what were your thoughts for this episode? Since you wanted to hold your peace until now.
Well, it was just so slow moving for me for the first about 3 episodes. I was just like, I'm sitting here. It's just not super enjoyable. Yeah, okay, they're all stuck in this silo, and then the mayor's officially killed off on screen, confirmed dead, and I'm like, it has something to do with the water bottles. I literally looked over and I just was like looking at Parker and I'm like, I think it has to do with the water bottles, and then they confirmed that is possibly where she was poisoned from because of how low her water bottle was compared to his, and they're also thinking the theory is the deputy was the original target, not the actual mayor. So it's just there's been certain little twists and turns that have satisfied my ADHD brain that I've been catching that I'm like, I wonder if they're going to answer this. So yeah, no, it's the little things that have been getting me. So I'm excited to see where they go from here.
Yeah, no, it's and then the de-aging of the doctor. I think they might have put, like, I was very impressed with how well that looked. But I think it's because they might have put little CG touch-ups on his clothing to help blend in the deep fake of his de-aging process.
Right? Do we know for a fact it was deep fake? Because that could have been some really well-applied tactical makeup.
I would have to actually do some homework for the homework.
Yeah.
It looked very good.
Yeah. It felt practical is what I'm going to say.
Yeah, no, it definitely was a good, and it might have been both. It could have been a blending of both techniques to try and make a more seamless looking illusion, because it's like it's usually one of the best ways to do it, is to not necessarily rely on one or the other. But I mean, that's part of the reason why I say Star Wars Force Awakens still looks so good, was because it was a good blend of CG and filming technique and practical effects.
Although I still say the Force needed to hit the snooze button a few more times.
That's probably indefinitely at this point. Geez, so we'll find out if Ahsoka does us any favors. Yeah, we'll get back in. We'll get into that. But what I wanted to say though too was about that character. I mean, talk about it's just another Father of the Year moment. That's just such a kick to the heart. I mean, to go through the family loss, and then to have your daughter run away from home, and then to confront the issue only to decide, you know what, if it's just better that you're on your own and I'm out of your life entirely, then so be it. Like, I was very just the stupid show got me to care.
That moment where he was like, I shouldn't have to either, after she'd already left, is like, oh man.
Yeah.
Look, this whole episode, if it doesn't make you catch feels, you're doing something wrong.
Very well said, Corion. I have to totally agree.
Yeah. There were so many like emotional high points in this episode that were like I love how you put it, H. Marie, like it was tagging your ADHD. Like I feel like that's what this show is doing a really good job of doing, is in the subtext, in the background, there's a lot of like ADHD distractors, which goes to what Scogli was saying in terms of like immersion. Like every time you kind of want to like look away, maybe pull up your phone, you're like, oh, what's that water bottle? Why is that different? And you're asking questions about a fake universe that you have to wait till the end to see. And to keep having those questions come up not only during just regular episodes, but throughout every episode, that's top-notch writing right there. That's like we've talked about quite a few master classes at this point, but most of them have been pre-2020. This is 2023 masterclass. Like it's got all the things you need for world building, and all the things you need for character development, and all the things you need for a stereotypical survival small world setting. Like none of it is one or the other. It's all and I love that so much.
Nope, and walking in lockstep, but in its own special kind of way, with high quality writing and good stories and characters. It is now time to dive into our Star Trek Deep Space Nine discussion. I will get this synopsis pulled up. One of these days I'm going to have all the tabs ready and it's going to be more efficient. But until such day, we have... What?
So we're talking about crossover, the one where Kira and Bashir accidentally cross into the mirror universe where Klingon Cardassian alliance rules, and Terrans are slaves on the station. A century before, James T. Kirk had made a similar crossover affecting human and galactic history. Is that kind of what you were looking for?
That sounds similar to what I think I watched today, yeah.
Yeah.
7.9 on IMDb. I kind of disagree with that being that high, but that's just me. But Corion, it sounds like you got some thoughts you're ready to share, so...
Well, I'm going to say that I am not a big...
Why don't I just put you in charge of the show from now on? There we go.
Well, I mean, I'm not going to say it would run better, but, yeah, look, on rewatches, I routinely skip crossover. I'm not a big alternate universe guy. I just didn't enjoy it. But, it definitely does have its charms as an episode. Look, when actors get to play their complete opposite, it's always fun to watch, right? When we get to see a moral Quark and an immoral Odo, right? A psychopathic Kira and, I don't know what to call him, a scoundrel Cisco, right?
Han Cisco.
Yeah, Han Cisco, right?
I love watching Kira go head to head against each other's mirror weaknesses. It's so good.
Right? I mean, who better to take down Kira than Kira? But it's a fantastic episode in that it allows the actors to just play, right? And just chew on the darkened J.J. Abrams verse, scenery, which I submit to you, that is where J.J.'s lighting comes from, is the mirror universe.
That was that's the Picard lighting right there. So it does take place in the mirror universe.
Yeah, there you go. But man, it's the whole universe feels dark. It feels gritty. It feels terrible. We have the opposite people playing the opposite characters to what they're used to. It's a good little setup for an interesting opportunity for the actors to play, and it feels like an actor playground in this episode, to me anyway. And that's my kind of takeaway from this episode. So
yeah, like we definitely get the non-visitor's range of acting on this episode, and she really just does a fantastic job talking to herself, and even hitting on herself. Which, I mean, who hasn't looked in a mirror and just done that to psych yourself up, right? I only do it every day. Well, you're looking at me funny, Corione.
dude, get a hobby, man.
I do. It's called psyching myself up in the mirror every day. Not like that. What?
I got a vision of a Worf on his high chair, sitting there looking in the mirror, twirling his fucking mustache. Remember that scene? He gets interrupted one time, and he's like, "Oh!" He's up on his chair, looking in the mirror.
I'm the greatest podcast host ever. I'm so amazing. Look at me go. No. Well, actually, shit. Damn it. Now I think of this idea after the fact. I should have had something planned for that because of that episode. Come out as Mirror Universe PD. Welcome to the producer brothers, or the producer sisters, rather. No, wait, not that kind of Mirror Universe. But no, it's really fun. I like the Mirror Universe episodes. Of course, I also like the concept of multiverse anthology, where everything is a multiverse and exists in its own universe, and you don't have to acknowledge what you don't like.
So wait a minute, if we were doing the Mirror Universe, would I be what, like Presbyterian in residence?
Presbyterian in residence, or devout Muslim, extremist. Well, maybe, preferably not. Yeah, because I don't know if you'd be.
It was like Pentecostal, but it's too mystic. You'd have to be something like Amish.
Yeah. See, something. Yeah, Amish. Amish sounds more appropriately opposite for Corione. I have to agree with that. That definitely makes more sense.
Then I couldn't be on the episode.
Because it's like, okay, is it the opposite of religion? Like, if my opposite counterpart, am I Cameron Pasha just because he's Sufi, or am I actually like, just way more homicidal? Crazy person, or am I David? I'm David Koresh in an alternate universe. That's it.
There you go.
That's it.
There you go.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know, Parker. If I were to say who you'd be in the Mirror Universe, like I feel like you would be a complete buttoned-up dork. Like in real life, you've taken the time to like you like your nerd stuff.
Yeah, that was me growing up. I think you forgot. I just didn't wear the suits.
This is where it's different. So like yeah, you've definitely tried to look professional and buttoned up, but you've also always been the person to like look in the mirror and be like, yeah, you do have a scraggly beard. Yeah, you do have really long hair. So like, imagine if you weren't that. Imagine if you were always actually anxious about your look, you would be buttoned up so much. Like,
yeah, that's why I was in the Coast Guard for so long.
Well, no, but I mean more in every sense.
Corione's got something to say on this.
Well, I was just sitting there going, like, yeah, I'd have to appear as my good twin without the goatee in the Mirror Universe, right?
That's right. No. That's right, because you're a witch. You're obviously bad, right? Or because
the joke, of course, is that I've got.
Because I'm a Christian, I'm embarrassed by boobs or something. I don't know.
Yeah, there you go.
There was a time. Ugh, never going back. So yeah, I think I like the crossover episodes. I think they're a lot of fun. I think that as quirky and silly as they get, especially with follow-on ones, they also have like high moments too, which we'll get into when we get there. But John, what did you think? Because this really we're kind of sort of doing. Yeah, we're doing it for Corione and I as well.
Definitely doing it for you guys. I'm along for the ride, and on the front.
No, I'm doing it for you. No, I'm doing it for you. No, I'm doing it for you. Look, what happens when two selfless people try to cross the road?
Oh, I'm not going to be humble or selfless on this one. I am 100% doing this for you.
That's
No,
wait.
this episode. That you got it. Took you a second, but you got it. No,
I know you
to
are,
me,
and so are
the
you.
Universe episodes, they bother me only because of that. Like, what do people think is their opposite? And a lot of people tend to think their opposite is like the thing they've been hiding their whole lives. And I think your real opposite is the thing that like you already do everything you can not to be. Like, there are things in this universe and things that we see other people do, and we look at it and we're like, okay, I'm never gonna be like that ever. And I think then like your opposite would be like, no, that's my epitome of leadership. That's my standard of good, right? Like that's where the opposite really comes in. Because like a lot of people, like you bring up like David Koresh and stuff, like there are people that honestly thought that like he was right?
Yep.
In that instance,
He knows a good guitar, that's for damn sure.
Had a good taste in cars too.
It was not that good. Everybody likes the '69 Charger. Like,
Camaro.
Yeah,
Chargers are all the
those
same
pictures of
color.
him playing that electric guitar. On
Dude,
the
I will
Mercedes-Benz.
drive
That's like
over
Marvin
the hill
Custom
tonight
Shop.
and kick your ass if you keep going with this blasphemy,
Wait,
John.
no. I'm pretty sure. Well, the
Charger,
Challenger.
Camaro's the same thing. Look, I could get along
No, I
better
said
with a
same
Charger
family.
owner than a Mustang owner. I'll give you that.
Correction,
But they are not the same.
correction. Hey, let's use our ears. I said same family, and then I said '69 was just a great year for cars.
Yeah, but you did it in a gaslighting way. Where you're like, yeah, they're all the same family. Yeah.
No, they are the same family because like Charger, Challenger, Camaro.
Yeah, they're
obviously
pony
there's the
cars.
'69 Challenger, but Camaro and Nova, those are like my
70
four
was the
all-time
Challenger.
favorite bodies. Yeah,
Uh,
71.
I do wish Chevy would bring back the Nova. That would be sick.
Yeah, absolutely. All
anyway.
on that point though, I think.
Hey guys, you want to see me get kicked off the channel super quick? I'm actually a big fan of the RX-8, the Mazda
Mazda?
RX-8.
Oh,
Yeah.
Nah.
Oh, so you played a lot of Need
It's
for
not a
Speed
trash
2
can,
Underground.
so I mean, no.
Oh,
my
okay. I would have thought that for not being American Muscle, I would have been gone.
No, my car
No.
hatred is my seething car hatred specifically is directed at Ford. Like Ford,
Oh.
like, you okay, gonna get a little political, so I apologize. You want to know how I know cancel culture's bullshit? Because Ford Motor Company wasn't forced to rebrand when they most certainly should have been. Because Ford supplied trucks to the Nazis, he was openly a racist piece of shit, but we forgive Ford because he gave us the weekend. And it's like, no. Also though, here's the other thing. Ford wouldn't be shit when it comes to the pony car market without Carroll Shelby. So it's really simple, Ford. Call yourselves Shelby, and that's just move away from Ford. And he's historically, yes, thank you for the Model T, but you know, we don't want to drive your name around anymore. That's where I'm at with it. Like, if you love Ford, great. Wouldn't be shit without Carroll Shelby, so I don't hate the company entirely, but not a huge fan of the guy.
Henry Ford, I think, was obviously like he had very erroneous values about humans. He had a ton of great values in terms of
He
logistics.
had, in the end, he's chaotic neutral.
Oh no, I would definitely say he's closer to white supremacists.
Okay.
And not even like there's all this idea of like, you know, like forgive the people for their time. It's like, I don't need to forgive him. He's dead. He's not waiting for me to forgive him.
He's not doing anything
he's
more
just-
to me now. Yeah, exactly.
Right. So like to me, what I do with Henry Ford is I take what he took, like I read a textbook. Like I don't want to ever reread anything McGraw-Hill has ever produced. But you can still learn a lot about math from McGraw-Hill math books. You can still learn a lot about English from McGraw-Hill English books, right? And that's what I mean in terms of Ford is let's take the textbook and ditch all the nuance, because the nuance is the gross part. All of his nuance sucked, but all of his textbooks,
Right.
all of his information on, you know, a 30-day farming year, all of his information on a privately regulated hospitals and healthcare, all the math is 100% perfect. Proof of concept exists. He did it. He has the studies to show that they work. Like, those are all textbook things that we can take from Ford. And in the mirror dimension, we can forgive that guy. Because, like, the mirror dimension Henry Ford doesn't ever come up with all the logic. Because
He's probably a
spends
freedom
more
fighter.
time actually being nice to people. Whereas the mirror dimension, like the real life Henry Ford, that dude was such a chaotic evil in terms of, like, he spent a large portion of his time trying to figure out how to get disabled people to make him money. And he was good at it. Now,
Yeah.
that's the worst way I can put it, because the way he actually
Jobs.
puts it and the way the world puts it is he was one of the first people to ever actually make his job accommodating, his workforce accommodating to the disabled. And again, you can look at it like perspective is perspective, but the real
Reality
answer is,
begins
like,
with perspective.
certain things worked. Certain things are logical. Certain things are going to work regardless of who comes up with them. And in that instance, I think that's where this mirror dimension really shows the difference between who you are as a person and who you could be.
It was
It's not
almost like
necessarily
Corione, I have to disagree with your skipping on this one, because it was almost like Ira took the opportunity to take, like, what the worst parts of Kira that we have seen, because is Prime Universe Kira really that different from the Mirror Universe version, or is the Mirror Universe version of her just what would have happened had she overthrown the Cardassians and been Queen of Pejor? Like, that's what I felt Nana was delivering in this episode, was like Kira was feeling like this
Nature
was
versus nurture.
this was basically a reckoning for her to have to face, like, the worst parts of her personality that she was as a terrorist, that she no longer, that she thought she would move past, only to have it, like, thrown in her face, not in like the best way that any of us could have this happen in therapy, right? Like, here's the toxic version of yourself in human perfect carbon copy form. Now have a discussion, enjoy, figure it out, right?
Right. I mean, like, I get where you're coming from, but at the same time, like, to me, it feels cheesy. Okay. But, right, like, and it
They
pulls
definitely
me into
have
the
fun
immersion.
with it.
Right. But, I mean, look, I love the fact that the writers and Nana took the time to really chew on the scenery here, right? Like, I do like that. Like, this isn't a bad episode by any stretch. This is one that I don't feel the need to revisit.
I would go so far
I
as
guess
to
the best way to put it.
I would go so far as to say that it's probably the best out of all of the Mirror Universe episodes, because it really does just kind of deal more cerebrally, not, oh yeah, here's all this, you know, it's the evil guys because they all have beards, you know. It's literally a lot more gray area, because, yeah, instead of Cisco, you know, being a commanding conqueror in this universe, because of the way events changed history, Cisco ended up as a smuggler, ended up as Han Solo. Something totally different from where his life ended up in Starfleet, obviously. But is it... I guess with Multiverse now, it's hard to not look at these characters and just want to accept them as cookie-cutter opposites. But rather, no, these guys literally grew up in a victim of circumstance. And I think that's what DS9 did with their version of the Mirror Universe, was instead of, oh yeah, we're just going to have everybody wears a beard and they're bad, it's, no, these are the same characters that you know and love, but we're going to change circumstances in their backgrounds and their histories, and this is what they turn out to be. And that's what I felt was going on.
Argument, like, are you really that different? Like, people are always like, when they look at Nazi Germany, and they're like, I would never do that. But if you grew up in that culture, you would be right there with the rest.
After World War I, when $1 million buys you like half a loaf of bread.
Yeah, no, look, okay, so I guess this is the best way to put this, and I have to be a little careful about it, but if Commander Cisco was suddenly, you know, thrust into a major interstellar war, you would get to see scenarios where he does act a little bit like a privateer, right? He does have a little bit of a pirate streak to him.
I don't know. I think you're reaching a little hard here with that assumption.
Well, I mean, would he maybe?
He does. He poisons that planet.
Right? Like, would he commit war crimes? Maybe, right? And what we see here, what I think the mirror universe really is let's take the absolutely worst aspects of a character and make them the primary the primary characteristic of the character. And let's take the best characteristics of a character and minimize them, right? Like, the best thing about Quark is he's a scoundrel. The worst thing about Quark is when he has a heart of gold and he genuinely cares. So let's flip that, right? And make him a very caring individual somehow, right? Let's take Kira. Kira has a little bit of a fun, perverse streak to her, but it's kept in check by her senses of duty and her spiritualism and all of that. So let's drop that and bring up the crazy, right? We get the, instead of getting the put together individual that our Kira is, we get, the bi Kira. Now, whether it's bisexual or bipolar, I'm not entirely sure, but we get the bi Kira, right? So, we get, like, that's what I think it does, is it takes the best and worst aspects of the character and just flips them, right? Odo's primary motivation is a need for order, right? But he tapers that by his, sense of decency. Well, if you get rid of the sense of decency, but push the order up to 11, you get slave driver Odo.
Right. And that's my point, is that it's not a cheap, this is just Odo bad. No, this is just Odo given the circumstances where he's not taught human morality or Federation morals or Bajoran morals or Cardassian morals. He's just taught the Alliance hates humans, and humans hating humans is commonplace. They're less than you. They don't matter. They're not equally important. You dehumanize them. Well, I mean, that's, I guess.
Yeah.
What kind of phrase do you use for that in an interspecies show like that? But you make them less than, right? And that's how you scapegoat. That's literally that's how it works, and that's why DS9 is so brilliant with the Mirror Universe episode, because of what you just said. They don't just go, oh yeah, here's Odo, but it's Mirror Odo because he's the police force of the Terrans, and he just kills and tortures them. No. He just keeps them working efficiently. That's his primary motivator, is to keep them working. He doesn't torture them because he likes torturing them because he's sadistic. He does it because that's what he finds to be most effective to get the job done. He's still very much the same Odo, just grew up differently. And that's what that's what I like about this particular Mirror episode, is that, yeah, it just, as you said, it takes the traits and explores what circumstances would have, pushed these characters in this direction. And so it doesn't feel like a cheap knockoff, oh, they're bad because they have a beard. It feels real because it just feels like it could literally be these characters if they happen to have existed in that universe, in that timeline. So, and of course they end up having fun with it later on. The follow-on Mirror episodes from this point are in DS9 are pretty bad, in my opinion. I mean, they're fun. I like them, but I think it's the last one that they go to that's really surprisingly terrible for where it's at in the series. I think it's season 6 or 7.
You're talking about the Quark and Rom focused one?
Oh god, that one's so bad.
I mean, it has its very humorous moments.
We'll get into it when we get there at this point. But yeah, I know what scene I'm remembering, and then it's like it's definitely not the stronger of the two. But all right, moving on now to the next episode, The Collaborator. Storyline. The election day for the new Kai is approaching, and both Vedic Bareil and Vedic Wynn, are on the station. Bareil is especially interested in Kira's vote. Wynn has a completely different agenda. She's awaiting the arrival of Secretary Kubus Oak, who was special liaison between Cardassians and the Bajoran government during the occupation. After the occupation, Kubus Oak fled to Cardassia. Kira and Odo are determined to make sure he gets the proper sentence. Without warning, Wynn wants to leave the station with Oak. She accessed information about Prylar Beck, another Bajoran collaborator who hanged himself after he gave away the location of a rebel base in the Kendra Valley. Wynn tells her Kubus gave away the name of the person really responsible for the massacre, Vadik Bareil. Kira tries to find the truth. Shout out to Arnud Teal for another amazing storyline synopsis that was spoiler-free and to the point. This episode, I think, is also misrated on IMDb. It's a 7 out of 10, and I think it's much higher than that.
It's much higher.
We get some solid Bajoran lore building in this episode. We get some solid
political intrigue.
I mean, this... Okay, real quick, let's take a quick little break to point out that this is the standard, guys. For those of you that work in New Trek... For those of you that think that, you know, Strange New Worlds Season 1 is acceptable, it's not. It's D-, passable at best overall. This is what I expect for Star Trek Legacy coming out of the gate, hit the ground running. Like, we need good Star Trek that is able to do self-contained arcs that not only, you know, you have the story. This I think is like the real pillar of DS9, is its ability to not just tell a self-contained story, but to leave enough pieces on the board for more stories later to come back to. And I think that's what I've always liked, is that yes, the continuous arcs are great, the self-contained 45-minute adventures in TNG are great, but the real meat and potatoes is being able to take both of those and use them effectively. And of course, it's easy for us to say that now because some of us have already watched this series, so we know how important this episode is going forward. But I think John probably catches the importance of this episode as well. I don't think you're lost on it.
No, this episode for me wasn't lacking in importance, like, by any stretch of the word. If anything, this one for me was like, finally, Bajor actually like matters a little bit more again. Like I get a lot of the Cardassians and the Bajorans, like, they have animosity, and technically we've seen it on the screen, but like it's more just been talk. And so, like, it's really hard to see Bajor as its own culture, like we've been talking about Silo, with world building. And Bajor definitely has world building, but what it lacks more than anything is time, screen time. And this episode was that screen time, because, like, this was a very, like, politics-heavy episode, but it wasn't real politics. It had nothing to do with Earth. And even if it did, it doesn't now. And that's nice. Honestly, like, the way this story, like, played out, it could have been during some 1980s, 1990s economic era where it was perfectly written to really, like, show the world what was going on. But I don't know. Because, like, watching it now, I see it as, like, a part of Bajor having world trauma, having world issues. And the way that the characters, I don't know, like I really liked that this was more of a debate about how people feel after their planet/nation does something so horrible or is in the middle of something so horrible. And this is like the few years after. Like, to me, this is the 1950s history I never got, if you will. Because, like, Americans, we didn't have a lot of rebuilding, if any, aside from Pearl Harbor.
Yeah.
Like, we just kept building.
Yeah,
versus,
John,
like,
you really need to read about the founding of Israel, because I feel like you will suddenly see how much this episode makes sense in that kind of ball.
I could see that. Yeah, I could really see that. Especially in terms of the Bajorans, like, oh man, I can't remember who the first person that was, like, caught for war crimes at the beginning of the episode.
Kubus. Yes.
Kubus. And the way he, like, he's just like, I just want to come home. And, like, everybody gets that, right? Like, people want to go home. But the way she talks about it, when Kira says, allowing you on Bajor would disrespect everybody you signed up for murder.
Yep.
Like, that's perspective. That's putting this enemy, like, because he doesn't seem like an enemy. For all intents and purposes, he seems like a guy.
He just seems like
trying
an
to
old
get-
man, right?
Yep, just trying to get home. An old man trying to go home. And then you find out, no, dude, this is Himmler. This is literally the worst of Bajor, because, like, not only did he know what they were doing, he was literally signing off on it and pretending like it was okay now because it's been a
His
few years.
name
Like, he
was
didn't even
fourth on the
apologize for
list.
anything. What was that, Skokely?
His name was fourth on the list of the people that got exiled.
Yeah, like literally number 4 worst Bajorans during Cardassian overrule. They still had a list of the worst Bajorans, and that's a story. Like, if anything, like, finally DS9 is open. Even though it's like a gateway portal to the Gamma Quadrant, and it's got all this other extra Star Trek stuff. Like, finally, now I see why we're at Deep Space Nine. 2 seasons in, now I get it. And that's what this episode really did for me, is like, it was a lot like Silo in its delivery. Like, it wasn't action heavy.
Yeah.
But its world building was methodical. And it
Louise Fletcher, the legend.
She plays, like, okay, Pope Space Karen, because now I can say that. Pope Space Karen is by far one of the best bad guys in this series. Right? And, you know, she's just so evil, and she plays it with such a smile.
The tactical conversations she has with Cisco, like in this episode especially, are just like,
And I love that Cisco knows what's up. Like, I love that Cisco's like totally aware of what she's doing, and he's just playing the game.
you get the teeth. He's like,
Yeah, you know, like he's got that little pirate grin that, you know, that just didn't seem to go away from Mirror Universe Cisco, and I can't be upset about it.
Yeah, next week we got, we do have a couple of strong powerhouse episodes that I'm definitely looking forward to. But John, we're coming up. Next week is the end of season 2. So, what do you think so far?
So I see why. Like, I've always known that people love Deep Space Nine and people love Star Trek as a whole, and I didn't know exactly why, and I still don't, only because, like, I already love sci-fi. So, like, I see that there was a time when it was hard to love sci-fi because there wasn't a lot of sci-fi, and that's one reason to love Star Trek and everything it's ever done. But then, like, when you compare and contrast it to modern sci-fi, you're like, okay, your graphics suck. Most of your, like, space shots have sound. What's going on?
And that's what I'm really starting to, at this point in time, you know, talking to a lot of legacy fans who prefer, you know, pre-2005 Star Trek, and also just you know, the Star Trek that I personally like, and comparing and contrasting that to modern Trek. I'm understanding that it's more of a fair point to make about the graphics. There's only so many times you can hide behind the excuse of it's a product of its time. Because that if we're gonna hide behind that excuse, then at the same time that's New Trek's problem. It's just a product of its time, which, given the current slew of content that's also still out there, that's somewhat a fair argument to make. What I am noticing, though, is that it's easy for those of us who've been fans a long time to enjoy this stuff, because we can buy the world a lot easier than some other people. And that's, I think, what the big break, like, if people can tell it's on a set, if people aren't impressed with the graphics, people aren't impressed with the way that the sci-fi is being presented, it's going to be a lot harder for them to find enjoyment out of it, because they're disillusioned by what's being put on the screen. So I think that absolutely visuals do have a strong purpose in getting better quality stories to people, because that's how some people are just visual learners. They understand it better just by seeing something visually. And so
I think there's also a piece that watching it now, and just something that John actually commented on that I felt was really important. It's important to understand the time that Deep Space Nine comes from. We had just gotten Next Generation. And Next Generation blew open the doors to regular people getting into sci-fi.
right.
People
Okay.
forget how huge TNG was.
Right,
They were on cereal boxes.
People
Right, and
also
I mean-
forget how obstinate some of the fans were in that TOS is the only true Star Trek.
Right. But here's the point though. Next Generation blew the doors open. And then all of a sudden we started having Deep Space Nine, Babylon 5. At this point they were also looking at fantasy stuff because they were like sci-fi fantasy, sure. We had Hercules. We were starting to get Xena at this point too.
Stargate.
Stargate was coming out. We hit this
Farscape, would
golden...
that count too?
Farscape was after was season
it's like
6
a cape
of
that's
Deep
a
Space
farce.
Nine.
Okay.
Farscape.
But we had hit this golden age of sci-fi and fantasy on TV that really has never come again. Right? At any one time now on TV, you maybe have 1 or 2 sci-fi series max. But at this point in time, every major network had at least one.
Sliders.
Right? Like I said, every major network had at least one sci-fi or fantasy series now in play. And, it was this golden era where you could, any given night you could turn on and see something that belonged in geekdom. And that was the first time it had ever happened in the history of television. And, when you kind of look back at it now, you realize how lucky we were to have that at that time.
Yeah. All right. Well, if you followed this show, we are firm believers in that how we treat death is just as important as how we treat life. And so when someone that matters to us, whether they be personal friends, family, or somebody in a show or TV series that means a lot to us, we do try to make it a point to recognize them. Or if our fans point somebody out that matters, I mean, we definitely try to make it a point. Suddenly and very surprisingly and sadly, of course, actor Ray Stevenson, who will be playing Baylan Skoll in the upcoming Ahsoka TV series, which I am cautiously optimistically excited for, passed away at the very too young age of 57. Skoll has been in a couple of different things, most known for playing Porthos in the Three Musketeers, also appeared in Thor, Kill the Irishman. He's got quite a list. This won't be his first Star Wars appearance. He actually did the voice of Gar Saxon in Star Wars The Clone Wars series. And so he's definitely one of the more curious aspects of the Ahsoka show. I don't know if he was going to survive this season or and he appears of course again as Gar Saxon in Rebels as well. So he's definitely been attached to Star Wars for a while. This is nothing new for him to be a part of the project, but it is sad that before we even get to see his work on screen, which of course we are absolutely covering on this show since Corione had me suffer through Mando season 3, happened to go through a Rebels rewatch. Oh gee, I wonder what's in your search history, Corione.
Yeah, right.
Having to go through a Rebels rewatch, and I gotta say, I'm definitely more cautiously optimistic, but well, now we gotta pay respect to see what further contribution to a galaxy far, far away Mr. Ray Stevenson gave us. But of course, I've said my piece, so if anyone else would like to add on to that, please do.
Yeah, I mean, I really, really have liked him as a character actor and everything he's shown up in. He always brings something unique to the table. And, even when he's been playing characters that were, kind of unique, and when somebody else has played them, they just don't feel the same as when he's originally given his performance on them. He always has a unique take. He always has a unique way of approaching the material, and from what I've been told, his appearances at things like conventions and whatnot have always been very, very pleasant. He's definitely been loved by the people that got to know him in the fandom. And it's a big loss. And we don't know what exactly happened yet, but I do hope that it was quick and painless, and that his family is at peace with what's happened, I guess is the best way to put it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's always sad when these things come up, and that's really what always gets me personally. Is it's the friends and family that these talented people leave behind. That's what makes it hit harder. Sorry, go ahead.
Your heart just goes out to the families always. You know people in your life that they go through this stuff, and it's just like, it's always tough.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I certainly don't want to guilt trip anybody into anything. If you're definitely not feeling the Star Wars vibe after all that's happened, I totally understand that. I mean, the only reason that I did go to see Rise of Skywalker was because Ian McDiarmid was showing up as the Emperor again, and I mean, you lose enough people in life, you start to realize what's really important. And that's probably the other reason why I enjoyed Star Trek Picard Season 3, was because when people did the comparison of what we should have gotten in Star Wars with, our favorites, Han, Luke, Leia, and Lando together on screen, we got our TNG cast reunited, in a really cool way. And so that's probably one of the things that I've enjoyed most about reviewing pop culture is really just understanding the human connection better. Because I used to be one of those anti-celeb death snobs. I'll come right out and say it, that I was a piece of shit. Still kind of am. But I definitely had my gripes about, especially after my mother passed away. It's like, famous actor who I don't know. Like, I was so jaded when Robin Williams passed away. Like, that one was I kind of look back at that and I go, man, I kind of feel bad. But it is what it is. I'm starting to realize now that I was wrong, in the sense that, yes, you should keep a healthy perspective, especially in parasocial relationships, okay? Like, definitely recognize that your appreciation for somebody like an actor that you don't know personally, you should definitely recognize that person can have significance in your life, and that's fine. However, don't forget to pay attention to the people around you at the same time. That's all I'm going to say about it, is balance it out.
And here's what I would say. If you're not interested in watching him in Star Wars, that's completely fine. Check out his character of Titus Pulio in the HBO series Rome. He was absolutely fantastic in Rome.
I could tell just by looking at this picture of him in Star Wars that would... Yeah, I believe you.
Yeah, like, he was absolutely fantastic in that. And, I do recommend that. Or check him out as Blackbeard in the TV series from Starz, Black Sails.
That's where I recognize him. Oh, now I'm even more sad. Dang it. That's...
Sorry, man.
Because he was... I haven't actually finished that series, but when he showed up, I was like, oh boy, shit's getting real. And yes, he is very good as Blackbeard and Black Sails is another great show. We may have to do like we have to do that. We gotta do Babylon 5. We gotta start a new show called Late to the Party. But anyway, I think that concludes everything else for that. So, Ray Stevenson, thank you for what you gave us. I do look forward to seeing your performance in Ahsoka. I mean, I was already looking forward to it, and I'm very sad that'll probably be the last thing that I'll see you in. He does have one other thing it is worth noting. People are saying that Ahsoka's his last thing. There is another. He stars in something called Gateway to the West, which looks like it's a movie. But anyway.
It's Gateway to the West is, I believe it's a movie, and I believe it's a I don't believe, no, this isn't the prequel to Yellowstone. they're
No, this
doing
is
yet another
something
prequel.
like looks like involves like samurais or something. It's looks pretty
Yeah.
intense.
Yeah, looks cool. I'm gonna
So
check
yes.
it out when it comes out.
So I want to thank everybody once again for tuning in, whether you're watching this live, whether you're watching this on replay, whether you're listening to us. I need to update the podcast again, falling behind. We do appreciate everybody's support, but we do also understand it's summertime. Get out there, enjoy the day. We are always going to be here for your convenience when you want to listen to us. And we are all about family and friends, and so we understand that you guys, that we appreciate. Like, I really appreciate it, guys, when you do make the time to tune in to listen live and watch. But I'm not gonna be hurt if you're going out and living your life and you take a break from us. It's totally cool. We love doing this. I enjoy sitting down with every single one of you guys and talking pop culture. And I also like that it's afforded the opportunity to compare some past good stuff. See, this is also why I don't want to take past shows out of the main show entirely, because we have this good stuff to compare to other good stuff that's on right now. And that's what I think really makes our show special. So shout out to Eddie Arndt. Thanks for popping in when you did. And of course, everybody who's just been lurk watching. Thanks, as always. Any last words from anybody else here?
Dude, 1242 Gateway to the West not only has Ray Stevenson, but Michael Ironside and the guy from the original Highlander movie, Christopher Lambert.
All right.
This could be good.
Well, it may be something we definitely will have to watch. I'm looking forward to Oppenheimer, and yeah, I think we got some good movies finally coming up, and then of course the content. Oh, you know what? The writer's strike's going to dry up the content in the future for a bit. So we might have more of an excuse to start going back. We might actually simultaneously talk Babylon 5 and DS9 at the same time. Ooh. I mean, we'll see. Now promises, Corion, but I'll definitely...
I'm pretty excited to start watching. I've never seen...
I haven't
Babylon
either,
5.
And I know Corion really wants to, but we got to get to a point where we can. So yeah, I think, let's see, what do we got? Citadel, Silo, and DS9 again for next week, and we'll see you then. This has been a presentation of the Ryder Brothers Tuesday Night Live Show. The Ryder Brothers, restoring respect in the discourse.